Hello Internet, welcome back to our Crusader Kings 3 playthrough. In the last episode, we went to war and we conquered Telemark. This is, our first conquest, and we're going to certainly have some more. I think we should talk just like tutorial type stuff for a minute here. I would like to talk about the layered system in Crusader Kings, just in case you don't know, and it's going to become very important later as we continue to expand. So, let's look at England as our first example. So here we have Wessex. Now Wessex is not just one place. Wessex, as we zoom in, we can see it's comprised of many of these smaller areas. Each has its own name, and then each thing has its own inside buildings within that particular thing. So within Wessex, there is Sussex, and inside of Sussex, we have the Barony of Lewes, Bishopric of Arun, and the Borough of Chichester. I'm sure that's not how you say that. So, on a macro level, everything in the game is made up of these multiple little tiles. And in our kingdom, if we go back to where we are, because we're Norse, we are a little bit behind on the development ball. So for us, one of our areas, so here we have Agdecide, it's comprised of 3 areas, or just 2, I guess, actually, now that I look at it. Of these 2 areas, one is occupied by our current tribal holding, and one is completely empty because we've never developed it. So on the very smallest level, that is this particular area. So let's just take, again, let's use Sussex as an example. Sussex is comprised of these 3 areas all put together. Now inside of each of these areas, someone controls that. So if I click here, and I go into the Barony of Lewes, it's currently controlled by the Petty King Aethelred. Okay, if we go to the bishopric, no. Yes, this is held by him. If we go to the bishopric, we can see that this is actually controlled by a bishop called Michelangelo of Wessex. If we go to the city here, you'll see it's currently controlled by Reeve Seidelburn of Chichester, who would be like a mayor. So those are the 3 basic things. We have the barony, which is like the castle type holding. We have a bishopric, which is the church type holding. And then we have the city, which is, or currently is listed as a borough, which is the city type holding. Each of those is controlled by a separate character. So only like kingly types, like ourselves, or like Petty King Aethelred, can control baronies. If we go to a bishop, only bishops should control bishoprics. Only the religious leadership should control a temple type building. And then we have a city type building, or construction or settlement, which is controlled by a mayor or similarly named character. So if our character, for instance, who is currently I believe we're a chieftain. What is our, no, get out of this menu, go away. What is our current thing? We are a chieftain. And because of our type of ruling, we should only ever control like baronies, castles, forts, things like that, tribal holdings. We should never control the temple. If we do, we will get a penalty for that. So, inside of this area of Sussex, it is currently controlled by a bishop inside the bishopric. Now, the landholders that hold these individual things, I don't know, their names change depending on what they're controlling, but they are the lowest level holders of land. They control a single holding inside of a larger area. If we scroll out a little bit, we can see Sussex. Now, Sussex is controlled. Where is Sussex? How do I see just? I guess I can't. But it's controlled by this guy. This guy is currently controlling Sussex, which is like the whole chiefdom of Sussex. This might be a bad example. Let's go somewhere else where he might not be in control. Okay, so here, this county holder, the person who is in control of this, is Earl Alfred. It's not the guy who rules the whole Wessex. It's some other guy who oversees these particular 2 counties. So that guy is a step above the people who control these individual holdings. He controls the individual county. Now, if someone controls multiple counties, do we have anyone? Cornwall is probably a duchy. So on top of the people who control the individual county, there are also setups in the game that are called Dutchies. So for instance, here, Munster is a duchy that is comprised of multiple counties. So if we go back to regular view here, we can see that in our duchy view, we have Munster, but in our regular view, Munster is comprised of Ormond, Thomond, and Desmond all put together. So there's a guy who controls this little earldom here, this tribal holding. There's a guy who controls the entire county. There's a guy who controls the entire duchy. And then if you go even further out, there are kingdoms, and the kingdom is the guy who controls the entire kingdom. And then there are empires, which are people who control the entire empire. All of these things exist pre-made in the game, and they are sort of nested down further and further and further. So currently, our character controls Nadenz. Within Nadenz is the Duchy of Agner, so we could currently make ourselves a duke, which would raise our rank from chieftain to duke, and would say that we rule over this entire area and we own it as a singular entity. So we could then delegate, and instead of ruling this tribe ourselves, we could delegate that to be someone else's control, but we would still control the Duchy of Agner. And then because we're the player or whatever, we also control all of this other land. It's just not under our de facto control, or I'm sorry, it is currently under our de facto control, but there's like de jure stuff involved, and it's very complicated. But I just wanted to explain the layering. It only took 6 minutes, and I'm sure people didn't want to hear it. But it's important to understand that, because as we get into succession, it's going to be very important on who holds titles to what areas. So currently, we control 100% of this land. We own every individual thing. We own every single tribal area is currently ruled by us. We don't have anyone that we've delegated it to. You'll see we have the option to do so. So we could say, you know what, I don't like Telemark. Let's give that to someone so that they'll like us more and so that they'll control it and I don't have to worry about managing it. But they would still exist underneath of us as the ruler. So like for instance, and this is where it gets really complicated, we currently rule this whole little area here. All of this is under our control. However, because we are a count, if we give someone else a county, so if we say, okay, hey man, why don't you control this area? If we do that, they will become independent because they are on the same rulership level as us. They would also be a chieftain, and a chieftain cannot be subservient to a chieftain. So if I wanted to grant this land to someone, I would have to first make myself a duke and control a duchy. That way I'm a higher ranking person and then can have them be my subservient individual. Does that make sense? Hopefully that all makes sense. And then as we get into succession, our current succession law is set so that when we die, our holdings will be evenly distributed among our children, or at least somewhat evenly distributed among our children. So if we have 6 kids and we die right now, we have all these little areas are going to get set apart into our different children's domains, and our realm will fracture because we are not of a high enough rank to oversee them. They would all become chieftains, and because chieftains can't rule over other chieftains, every part of our current holdings would become independent. And that would be really, really bad. So hopefully that all makes sense, because we're going to have to do some things in the next episode or two to ensure that when we do die, because we are wounded now, we were wounded in battle, we could die literally right now. We're 55 and we have a really severe health penalty. We could die 5 seconds after I unpause the game. It's important, and currently we only have 1 heir, so it would be fine. He would just inherit everything. But we're going to start making babies. We're going to start conquering more land. It's going to be really important that we start raising our ranks so that we can oversee other people. The other thing worth noting is that we do have a domain limit. We currently have our maximum holdable domain. So we already control 3 areas. And if we try to, let's say we go to war with over here, and we conquer one of these counties, or I guess it is just one county. So we conquer them, all of a sudden we're going to have a 4 out of 3 holding limit, and we're going to be over our limit. And what that means is we'll get reduced taxes, people will not like us, people will have a lower opinion of us, we will have lower levies, everything will be penalized, and that's really bad. So when we conquer something else, we really want to first become a duke. That way, as soon as we conquer something else, we can delegate that and give it to someone else to be underneath of our control. We won't be over our domain limit because they will become a vassal, but we will still be controlling all of that land in some capacity. We'll still rule over the whole land, even if it's not under our direct control. I really hope all that made sense, and I know it's a lot to throw at you on episode 2, but I was really concerned with this series that I would start playing and people would be like, I don't understand what you're doing. I don't know how this works. Why is this? Why is this? Why is this? So I thought, if we can just explain little bits of stuff, 5-10 minutes here and there throughout the series, hopefully people will understand. So we're at our domain limit, and we really don't want to go to war yet, because going to war will cause us to be over our domain limit, and that's really not great. So, plus we were just at war, and you can see we have 641 men available to us, but we have an 1,100 total. So what that means is that if we raised all of our armies right now, we would only get 644 men, but we want them to reinforce up to that maximum so that we're prepared next time we go to war. We're currently injured after our previous war, and so this guy has roughly more, in fact, more soldiers than we currently do. He might see, hey, this guy was just at war, his men have not recovered yet. Let's go take this from him. So we really would like our men to recover. So I do think we're going to pass some time here, and we're going to just turn our attention to things within the realm for the time being. So for instance, we are currently trying to seduce our wife. Our wife's excellent average stewardship skill led to a 50 gold gain for our character. She basically was just cleaning out the couch cushions and found us 50 gold. Actually, probably more likely like she was going through the books and found a discrepancy and we got 50 gold out of it. 50 is hugely significant when we have such a low income. So that's really great. Thank you, hun. I wish you liked me more than you do. I don't know why you don't like me so much. Is hostile, modified by doctrines. Foreign culture. I thought we married a Norse woman. She's Finnish, and she's a different religion. Oh, no wonder she wouldn't be romanced by us. She hates us because we're a pagan. I thought we married a Norse woman. Was that my son I married to a Norse woman? No, not liege. Go to my son. What is your wife? Yes, she matches, so that's nice. No wonder she doesn't like us. Man, that's a bummer. We really need to work that up. Thankfully, seducing her will help. That explains why she wouldn't be romanced by us. Like, she wouldn't accept me as like a boyfriend type situation, a husband type situation. But she is at least, viably seduced. Like, she's seducible because I'm still a sexy man who rules a kingdom. I mean, like, not a kingdom, but, who rules the area. So here we have some raiders that have been raised by one of our neighbors. This is a special thing that we can do as a Norse character, which I was going to do, but I thought we would let our men replenish first. Essentially, because we're Norse, we can raise our soldiers as raiders rather than soldiers. They will be less combat effective, so if a enemy raises an army and attacks our raiders, they're less put together, and our raiders would likely lose, even if we had superior numbers sometimes. But raiders have the benefit of, one, being way less to maintain. They're much cheaper to have raised. And secondarily, if we send them into terrain, even if they're not our enemy, we can send them to other people's holdings and steal their gold. So if we came, let's say, to, what is the city here? Bjorgfinn? I'm sorry about the names. You'll see it currently has 15 loot. So if we sent raiders over there, we could steal 15 gold from them. Even though we're not at war, they would be able to attack us, but they wouldn't be able to like siege our holdings or anything like that. They would just be able to attack our raiders. We could potentially get up there, steal 15 gold, and make our way back and just take that money, which is something we want to do. We're just not doing it right this second. Here we have some additional raiders. I wish I knew where you were going, because if you land in my lands, you have way more men than I do. I'm concerned about that. A gift of labor. Everyone appreciates a gift, but perhaps I would come up with something truly unique that will really impress Chieftess Copy. Now, she is the person we're currently trying to seduce. That's our wife. So because of that, we got a pop-up that might increase the likelihood of her being seduced by us. Now, Chieftess Copy. We can give her an embroidery featuring her house crest. We can commission poetry on the joys of life dedicated to her, or we can give her a wood carving of a castle. Now, each of these, it doesn't tell us whether or not we would succeed or if it would make her like us more. None of these should cost us money because it would tell us if it costs us any money, so hopefully that will not be an issue. And I don't know how Crusader Kings has this set up, but I've always been trying to pick the ones that match their personality. So, she is reckless. She is a brilliant strategist, which is an incredibly good trait. If we have children, we should put her in charge of educating our children because it will make them way more likely to get a good military upbringing. She's ambitious, which is not great for us, really. Temperate, which is I mean, yeah, it says moderation. That's kind of where I was going with it, is like, kind of means you're not really anything. You're just sort of a moderate person. And then she is cynical, so she questions other people's intentions. So she has some military stuff going on with the ambitious and strategist. Maybe she would like a castle because of that. I don't think she would like poetry. She doesn't strike me because she's cynical and blah, blah, blah. I think an embroidery of her home crest would also be a nice touch. Like, that's what I would give someone if I were trying to woo them, probably. I don't think I would hand her blocks built into a castle. So we'll give her an embroidery. Hopefully she likes it. We'll see. We won't know. I guess we'll get a pop-up telling us whether she enjoyed it or not. Those raiders have passed by, so we don't have to worry about the raiders coming to our lands. But the problem is all these other raiders are going to raid our neighboring areas, and once something is looted, it can't be looted again for a while. You'll see it has no loot because it was recently raided. So that means we will be slim pickings, and obviously we're not going to go raid like someone huge and scary because, you know, they turn their army on us and we could have a lot of problems. Thank you so much for the crested embroidery you gave me. I can scarce remember the last time I received such a wonderful gift. Anything for you, and you'll see that it increases to the budding interest. What that means is that we now have a plus 15% chance of success. So if we go to our current success chance, we're at 40. She is our spouse, so we get a bonus, and she is getting the budding interest buff, which we just saw there. So we're going to let some more time pass. Our armies are recuperating at a decent rate. I would love to form a duchy. So we talked about the titles in this game and ruling over individual areas versus larger areas. In order to basically elevate ourselves, currently we're a chieftain, which means we control counties. In order to elevate ourselves to the next highest thing, which is a duke, which, by the way, I don't know if I mentioned, every area will have a different name. So like if I go to India, or let's just go Rata here, and we look at the current holder, you'll see he is a Rajkumar, and that is, I don't know, I guess a chief. Rajkumar, it looks like he controls all of that area. That could potentially be a king. Let's pick something nice and small and see who's in control. So the Raja, so here I'm guessing the count in this area is referred to as a Raja. So depending on where you go in the world, they will have different names based on their thing, but it's always that same hierarchy, ruling a duchy versus ruling a county versus ruling, you know, an individual holding, etc. So in order to elevate ourselves, we have to fabricate a title for ourselves. Now that we control all the land inside of this Duchy of Agner, we can declare that we are the Duke of Agner. And part of that, why don't I have that option? How do I go to Agner? We can create it because we control enough of the land to call it our own, but it costs us 125 gold. However, it is highly prestigious because we're elevating ourselves and we're making ourselves a bigger player in the world at large. So will give us a lot of prestige. However, it costs 125 gold. It is cheaper because we are tribal, but you know, it's still a lot of money considering we earn 1.5 per month. That is, you know, over 120 months of waiting, you know, 100 months of waiting. So we really do want to go raiding, but I would love to get just some more men. Actually, you know what? 843 is probably enough. Let us go back to, yes. Let us do some raiding. So this is the military tab. You'll see it currently displays all of our levies, which is the number of men we can raise and send out to fight. Again, this does not impact our garrisons. So if we go to this tribe, we have a garrison of 277 men, but we can actually raise 387 as levies. Sorry if you can hear the calypso music in the background. That would be the snow cone lady coming by the house. So we have 843 of our 1,100 men available to us to currently raise and send out on war or raids. And we could just raise them if we wanted to, but we actually want to raise them as raiders. They will equip themselves to be raiders. And what that means is that, like I said, they'll be less combat capable, but they are capable of raiding. So we've raised our raiders. We have 738 men. You'll see this little torch symbol. That means that it was recently raided and cannot be raided again for another, wow, 5 years? Oh, that's crazy. I did not think it was that long. That is terrible. That means we're not going to be able to do very much raiding. Now, the more wealth in an area, the more value you will get out of raiding. So, for instance, we could embark our troops and head over here to England. England, as I keep saying, Norse areas are much less developed than some of the other parts of the world. So, for instance, France is probably pretty wealthy. If we scroll in here and we land, let's say, our guys over here in Gines? I have no idea. But if we landed here, you'll see there are multiple places for us to raid. It's not just one. Like in Norse areas, in our Nordic areas, there are very few things. There's only really tribal holdings. So if we came here and ransacked this bishopric, you'll see there's 9 loot. If we come over to the barony, there's 21 loot. If we come over to the city, there's 9 loot. And we could probably hit most of those things and then get back onto our boats before they even really knew what hit them. The problem with going to England, or really even just like Western Europe or Northern Spain or whatever, is that they're so far away. We are basically sending out a huge portion of our military just to raid. And if, let's say, Vestfold decides, hey, this is a perfect opportunity to conquer Nadenz, that's a huge problem because our army is occupied elsewhere, and it will take them time to retreat, be disbanded, and re-raised as military. Would take us a lot of time. So I'm a little hesitant this early in the game to head off to England. So I think we're just going to raid our neighbors here. Oh, we forgot. Oh, that's a bummer. We forgot to set up for control. So we talked about control recently, just a little bit. Control basically shows how much control we have over an area, obviously. If we go to one of our areas, you'll see we have 100% control. What that means is that this is giving us the maximum number of taxes and levies and things like that. Telemark, because it was recently conquered and it's pretty angry at us, has a control of 4. 4 is terrible. You'll see we're getting minus 95% taxes, which means we're not really getting that much money out of this area. Same with the levies. We're getting around 50%. We want maximum everything, right? We want as much as we can get. Now, control will come back over time. If we look here, you'll see it's a plus 0.7 monthly increase for a couple of reasons. Number one, it increases naturally over time. Number two, we have a perk that increases the control, and then we have the focus of our current lifestyle, which also grants additional control. So it is increasing over time, but 0.7 per month is god awful. What we can do is employ our council. We haven't talked about the council yet. We'll probably talk about them as necessary. Basically, counselors have a variety of functions depending on what they do. In fact, we were going to replace our Gaudy. Let's do that with our courtier. You have an excellent learning skill. Each position has a skill associated with it, and the higher their skill, the more likely they are to do good things, the better they will do these special abilities, and the less likely they are to have bad events happen. So, honestly, just replace him. So this guy will lose opinion of us, but the benefit of our current stage of the game is that he doesn't own any land. And if you don't own land in this world, you mean nothing. So you can just do whatever you want to them, essentially. So we're just going to oust this guy and hire our new person, who will immediately like us more than that person because we've hired them and put them on our council. And they are better at their job. But anyway, so we want to increase control in Telemark. We can do that by sending our marshal there, who is also terrible. Why are you terrible? I know we have better marshal people. Look at this guy. He's a plus 17. This is crazy. Oh, we'd have to pay him though. How much? 3 gold? Done. Congratulations, you're my new marshal. Boop. So, we have a new marshal, and he has a 17. Now, based on his score, he will be better at doing these jobs. So what we can do is send him, and you know, he probably goes with a few men or whatever out to Telemark to increase control in that particular county. You'll see there's a chance of removing corruption, which doesn't mean anything to us currently. We don't have corruption, but it will also increase control in the county. You'll see it says county control plus 0.00. I don't know why that is. Over time, it will increase. If I click, maybe it'll update now. No, it still says plus 0.00. Anyway, to get that to 100%, it will take 5 years. We don't need it to get to 100%. We just need it to be higher than negative 98% or whatever it was. 95%. We just need it to be better than that. So we'll send him to do that while we send our men out to raid the neighboring council. Here's another reminder that our current religious leader does not endorse us. Again, this determines what we will get from religious holdings. We don't currently have any temples, so it doesn't matter. Plus, you know, we could take her as a concubine or seduce her or something and get a benefit out of that. Let's look at the rest of our council. You're great. You're okay. Atvar, our chancellor, is not very good, which means he has a chance of failing. He has a much higher chance of failing and making people not like us, so we would love to replace him. And this requires the diplomacy skill. We unfortunately really don't have anyone with better diplomacy at the moment, so we'll just leave that be for now. We don't have any vassals currently, so it doesn't really matter if people like us or not. We're going to go raid, and you'll see we get this little bar. As this fills up, we will get loot. But of course, again, if they raise their army and attack us, we will lose that loot. We will lose a lot of men. It would be really catastrophic for us to get caught here. So let's try to slip into the neighboring chieftain. We have a notable guest show up in our court. Our court is basically just people kind of in our realm that are significant. So we had this guy show up, and he's an experienced fighter, so probably what the game is trying to tell us is like, hey, this guy showed up, you should recruit him to be one of your special champions. In fact, we can see him here in this list. He has excellent prowess. He would be the best knight that we have. But he would cost us money. 15. You're really good. But I'm trying to save up money for a duchy title. I don't think we can do it. You're really good though. Each point of prowess gives the knight 100 damage and 10 toughness. So you're doing 2200 damage versus this guy's 800. And our son was 0, by the way. Just a friendly reminder at how bad our son is. Let's ensure... Have we finished raiding? Yes. Let's ensure we are not leading the raiders. We're still very wounded and we don't want to be leading. I wish it would not auto put my guy in charge of the army. So we're going to select a different commander. We will send, and we get like huge bonuses for leading our own men, but the risk of being injured or killed is huge and terrible. So we will send our marshal instead. Now I really like this marshal though, he's very good. Unyielding defender, friendly fatal casualties minus 25%. We could send this guy, but he's not very good. Send this guy. It's fine. That way our ruler is not at risk of being killed. Now, since we've left, but we're still in their realm, they may raise their armies, so we have to be really careful about how we move. And we have to keep a close eye on our raiders that nobody gets the jump on us. Unprecedented. A Norseman from Telemark has come to petition me for increased representation in my government. My lord, we are loyal subjects, yet we have no say in how our communities are governed. Would it be so much to ask for one of our own people to have a place in your administration? We can tell them, very well, you will rule Telemark from this point forward, and he will like us, and we will get a hook on him. I don't really want you to rule. I don't know who you are, or where you came from, or what you did, as long as you love me. I don't know what you want. I don't know if you just want to rule, you would become independent. I can't do that. I could loosen the reins in exchange for your service. He will join our court and become fond of us. He is better at diplomacy. I could make him a diplomat. He's a lispy though. I have a little bit of a lisp, so I feel you, man. Which makes people dislike him, unfortunately. Or I could just say no. Just no. I don't care about you. I don't know who you think you are coming into my court. We have to keep a close eye on our raiders. you'll see we are getting a note here that this is a ford. So crossing between these areas, if we were going into combat, would be hugely penalizing for us. We would take a lot of additional damage and possibly lose our army. But we're going to raid this guy, take his gold. We are now up to, how much gold do we have? 30 of 72. I think we hit one more. How powerful are you? Very weak. So we'll head over there. Even if he raises his armies, he's not strong enough to take us in a fight. So we'll just... I really don't want to fight at all. We're trying to conserve men for war. Don't engage them. Oh, they stood down? Never mind. You probably shouldn't have stood down when you had raiders in your land. Chiefess Copy gained strategic expertise, which increased her martial ability. Her understanding of warfare has increased, which is great because we currently have her doing martial stuff, which is benefiting our nation. So that is good. So let's raid these guys since he did not have the foresight to keep his army together. And then I think we might just head home. It depends how much we get here. Chiefess Copy is now pregnant, so our wife has become pregnant. This is what we were talking about earlier, about how this really complicates... Okay, deselect. How this really complicates succession. Becomes a lot more difficult if we have a son. Will be hugely problematic for us at the moment because we have not properly, you know, consolidated our realm's power into a duchy. A reading in Arendelle. The celebrations have come to an end, and the evening's entertainment seemed to be over when Chiefess Copy suggested a reading. Clerk soon arrived, wondering what the guests would like to hear, and I see my chance to impress Copy. You'll see she's now in a pregnancy pose, even though she doesn't really have a belly at the moment, so I'm not sure. This just looks silly to me. So, we could read something pious, like modern philosophy. There's a good chance she will not like that, because we are different religions, and pious things are going to be different between the two of us. We can be entertained, or on the judgment of the stars would give us a chance to learn. Hear something informative, something entertaining, or something about religion. I think we go entertaining. There is a chance, you'll see that there's a chance it will have an awkward interaction, but I think we're pretty safe. Let us be entertained, and I will go and get the lid. Click that one. Copy seemed completely engrossed. That was an excellent choice, Kyota, she says, and purses her lips. It was great, wasn't it? So we gain smoldering romance, which further increases our success chance. So our wife is starting to come around. Now, her opinion of us has not changed yet. Once the scheme fully works itself out and fires, which will take another 7 months, give or take, we have a shot at seducing her. And at this point, that percentage chance is getting pretty high. So once we seduce her and we become lovers, she will be more likely to have a good opinion of us. I would prefer she liked us. It's not super important, but I would prefer she liked us. So, we got another 15 gold here. What about you? You have 15 gold available as well, and you only have 300 men. Let's try to slip in here and loot them as well. Then we will head home. You have died. Oh. This is all because in the very first episode, it auto put my ruler as leading the army. This is 100% why we died. We could have lived for another 20 years. Okay. Chieftain Kyota of Nadenz has crossed the door to the world of spirits at 56 years of age. He died from his wounds. Known to be an exceptional strategist, he spent many of his days examining fields and drilling his troops. Chieftain Tor ascends to the throne, being both thrifty and frugal. The realm will surely prosper under his rule. Sucks. So, on the plus side, because we never had any other children, everything's going to our son. So we don't have to worry about the realm being fractured by our death. Our son now becomes our character. You'll see down here, we are now our son. And, yeah, we have no heir. Our son has no heir. So if our son dies, that will be the end of our game. So, not great. pause the game. We have a lot of stuff we have to deal with. We should call the episode here. This new lady likes us. Our religious leader. Oh, it's my wife. The person I appointed to be in charge of my religion is my wife, which is a bummer because now she can't do spousal type stuff. She can only do religious stuff. So, but she likes us, thankfully. So, yeah, our priesthood likes us. We have a lot we need to sort out now that our character has died. You'll see we have quite a few pop-ups that we will need to sort out. We'll do that in the next episode. For now, geez, man, it's not good, internet. We're not off to a great start. For now, that's going to do it. Thank you for watching. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. It really helps me out with the search algorithms on YouTube. Very, very beneficial to me. I, of course, will be back with more Crusader Kings 3 in the near future, and I'll see you in the next episode.